It began on a quiet Saturday morning. Cameron Reeds had only lived in the house for 3 months. It was a simple 2-bedroom ranch at the end of a cul-de-sac in northern Michigan. The kind of house you buy after a divorce, just far enough away from everything to feel invisible. He wasn't expecting much that morning when he opened his garage to clean it out. Just the usual. Dusty tools, leftover paint cans, and boxes he hadn't unpacked since moving in. But in the far corner, behind a stack of plywood, he found something he didn't remember owning. A faded green backpack, mud-caked, torn at the zipper. The fabric stank like pond water and old meat. He pulled it into the light. The tag on the inside read, "Property of Dylan H. Carter." That name meant nothing, at first. Cameron Googled it out of curiosity. Dylan H. Carter. The first result was a missing persons article from 2 years ago. Local kid. Vanished during a solo camping trip in the Upper Peninsula. The article mentioned his car was found abandoned, engine still warm, with no signs of struggle. No body, no suspects, no theories. But there, in the gallery, was a photo. A teenager in a red hoodie, standing in front of a tent, wearing the exact same green backpack. The discovery should have been enough to call the police, but Cameron didn't. He didn't know why. Maybe denial. Maybe fear. Instead, he opened the backpack. Inside were rotting clothes, waterlogged notebooks, half-burned photos, and a Ziploc bag of teeth. Not human, not quite animal either. But worst of all was the final item, a crumpled page, dry despite the mold, that read, "If you find this bag, it's already watching you." Later that night, unable to sleep, Cameron returned to the bag and dug deeper. Beneath a false bottom, he found a small digital voice recorder. It clicked on immediately, battery still charged. There were 5 entries, each one shorter than the last. The first was quiet, just the sound of footsteps, wind through trees, and someone whispering too softly to understand. The second was Dylan talking to himself, panic setting in, claiming something was following him. The third included heavy breathing and what sounded like growling. The fourth, just the sound of screaming, not his voice, a woman's. And the fifth, it was recorded inside a garage, his garage. The same hollow echo, same slight hum from the overhead bulb, and behind the recorder was breathing, not human. That night, Cameron dreamed of forests, black trees, fog, and tunnels of dirt spiraling underground. When he woke, something smelled wrong in the house, like rot. He traced it to the garage again. The smell was stronger now, metallic, wet. It came from a small crawl space behind the water heater that he'd never thought to check. A deadbolt sealed it, old and rusted, but recent enough to not belong to the original structure. He broke it open with a crowbar, behind it, a tunnel. Dug out by hand, 6 feet wide, pitch black, and carved into the entrance wall in smeared soot. He found a door he shouldn't have opened. He didn't enter, not yet. But the smell followed him back into the house, and later that night, while checking his ring cam history, he found something even worse. The backpack had moved. Things escalated quickly. Shadows didn't behave anymore. They lagged behind him when he moved. Reflections smiled when he didn't. The whispering grew louder, always at 3:33 a.m. He nailed the garage shut, but it didn't matter. One night, while checking the crawl space again, he saw someone else's handprints in the dirt, smaller than his, drag marks, and the backpack was gone. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the motion sensor in the hallway triggered. He watched the footage live. A tall, pale figure walked across his hallway, wearing Dylan Carter's green backpack. No face, no eyes, no sound. It walked into the living room and never came out. Cameron finally broke. He returned to the tunnel, this time with a headlamp, gloves, and his phone recording. The tunnel went deeper than expected. It wasn't natural. It curved downward, with walls smoothed like something had slithered through regularly. The air was thick with rot and whispering. Not voices, just thoughts that weren't his. After 10 minutes, the tunnel opened into a chamber, And there it was, the backpack, resting in the center of a stone circle surrounded by bones and twisted symbols burned into the dirt. Above it, hanging from the ceiling, was Dylan. Not alive, not dead either. His body had been split open and rearranged, his face worn like a mask on something much taller, something still breathing, something watching Cameron even now. It dropped from the ceiling. Cameron ran, but the whisper followed. "You're next." The police found the house a week later. No sign of Cameron, no note, no signs of forced entry. But in the garage, they found something odd. The smell of rot, and in the crawl space, behind a pile of disturbed dirt, a faded green backpack. Inside, a phone, still recording. The last frame, a figure standing in the tunnel, wearing Cameron's skin. After the police left, the house grew colder. Neighbors noticed. Lights flickered at strange hours. Dogs refused to go near the driveway, and the grass on the front lawn began to turn a sickly, grey-green hue. It was as though something had bled into the foundation, something that wouldn't let go. Weeks passed, then months. The house remained empty, but it wasn't quiet. Late-night joggers reported hearing things, shoveling in the garage, whispering from the vents, and the distinct clatter of backpack straps flapping against something as it moved in the dark. A real estate agent eventually took on the listing. She lasted 5 minutes inside before vomiting in the backyard and quitting. The footage from her body cam, later leaked, showed something disturbing. The garage door closing on its own, and a voice whispering her name, though no one else was present. The listing was pulled. The house was condemned, but it was far too late. Months later, Cameron's sister, Elise, came to Michigan to settle what remained of his affairs. Among the boxes retrieved from a local storage unit, she found a notebook wrapped in a wet towel. It was his handwriting, but the content made no sense. Page after page of strange phrases repeated over and over. The bag is the bait. The tunnel is the mouth. Don't answer the knock that comes from below. Time does not move the same in the dirt. Sketches of the backpack appeared throughout, with each drawing becoming more grotesque, until the bag was no longer a bag, but a mouth, a wound, an eye. Near the end of the journal, Cameron had written one final entry. "I thought it was watching me. I was wrong. It needed me. It needed a shape, a skin. I gave it mine." The journal led Elise back to the house. She wasn't supposed to enter. The city had locked it down. But the padlock on the back gate was already broken, and the garage door was open, just a crack. She brought flashlights, pepper spray, and her phone. Inside, the stench hit her instantly. It wasn't rot this time. It was something older, damp stone, sweat, and static, the kind of smell you associate with ancient, sealed places. She didn't mean to enter the tunnel, but something called to her. She recorded everything. Elise's footage, later leaked to a paranormal forum, showed the tunnel had changed. It was wider now, lined with something that looked like skin. Hair grew from the walls in places. The symbols were fresh, bleeding. She walked for 10 minutes before reaching a fork. The left tunnel was marked with a single word in chalk: forgotten. The right, returned. She chose right. The tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber, far larger than anything that could fit beneath the neighborhood. It pulsed, as if alive. Bones jutted from the walls, and in the center stood a figure with its back to her. It wore the green backpack. But it wasn't Cameron. Not anymore. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face that was an amalgamation. Cameron, Dylan, and others Elise couldn't recognize. Faces stretched over a shape that barely resembled human. Behind it, along the walls, were more backpacks. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Each one rotted, full, vibrating with movement inside. She tried to run, but the tunnel closed behind her. The camera dropped. The last frame showed her being dragged backward into the pile of bags, her scream abruptly cutting off. The footage leaked across the dark web, titled simply, "Backpack God." Conspiracy channels went wild. Urban explorers tried to find the house. Most returned, some didn't. One YouTuber posted a live stream claiming he'd found the tunnel. The chat watched as he opened a backpack he found deep within, and the video cut to black. His channel was never updated again. Then came the final clue. A private investigator hired by the Carter family, desperate for closure, dug through old tapes collected from the local sheriff's department. One had no label. It showed Dylan Carter, clearly terrified, deep inside the same tunnel. He whispered into the camera, "The bag feeds it. The bones keep it. I've seen my future. I'm screaming in your garage."